No second guessing. No second guessing. This is the dark house. Time to face the sound. Welcome to the dark house, where the strong survive. We're tearing down the walls, no compromise. No filter, no mercy, just a cold hard truth. We're the ones who bite, and we're ready for you. When the truth's forever, we're breaking down the doors, no more shadows in the dark house. It's all or nothing. We're here to fight, no bluffing, no running. Locked and loaded, the truth's our ammo. We're breaking down the doors, no more shadows in the dark house. It's all or nothing. We're here to fight, no bluffing, no running. We don't back down, we stand our ground in the dark house, where the real are found. No change, no fear, just pure aggression. We're here to win, no second guessing. No second guessing. This is the dark house, time to face the sound. This is the dark house, time to face the sound. This is the dark house, time to face the sound. We don't back down, we stand our ground in the doghouse, where the real are found. No chains, no fear, just pure aggression. We're here to win, no second guessing. This is the doghouse, time to face the sound. Where the strong survive. We're tearing down the walls, no compromise. No filter, no mercy, just a cold hard truth. We're the ones who bite, and we're waiting for you. Welcome to the dark house, where the strong survive. We're tearing down the walls, no compromise. No filter, no mercy, just a cold hard truth. We're the ones who bite, and we're waiting for you. Welcome to the dark house, where the strong survive. We're tearing down the walls, no compromise. No filter, no mercy, just a cold hard truth. We're the ones who bite, and we're ready for you. Locked and loaded, the truth's our ammo. We're breaking down the doors, no more shadows in the dark house. It's all or nothing, we're here to fight, no bluffing, no running. Locked and loaded, the truth's our ammo. We're breaking down the doors, no more shadows in the dark house. It's all or nothing, we're here to fight, no bluffing, no running. No running, no bluffing, no running. No running, no running, no running. We don't back down, we stand our ground in the doghouse, where the real are found. No change, no fear, just pure aggression. We're here to win, no second guessing. No second guessing. This is the dark house, time to face the sound. Welcome to the dark house, where the strong survive. We're tearing down the walls, no compromise. No filter, no mercy, just a cold hard truth. We're the ones who bite, and we're ready for you. When the truth's forever, we're breaking down the doors, no more shadows in the dark house. It's all or nothing, we're here to fight, no bluffing, no running. Locked and loaded, the truth's our ammo. We're breaking down the doors, no more shadows in the dark house. It's all or nothing, we're here to fight, no bluffing, no running. We don't back down, we stand our ground in the dark house, where the real are found. No change, no fear, just pure aggression. We're here to win, no second guessing. No second house, time to face the sound. This is the doghouse.
What is going on, everybody? Let's go. Hope everybody's excited. Excited like I am. We are back with a Friday. I didn't trim up the beard. I need to trim it up, man. My little mustache is like going over my lip and everything. It's bothering me so bad. But I hope everybody's having a great Friday tonight. We will be streaming for probably a good couple of hours. I want to make sure that I watch this Floyd Mayweather Jake Paul fight. I'm sure a lot of you guys want to be doing the same thing. So we got some news to cover. We're going to be doing some call-ins. Call-ins are always welcome. So I'm looking forward to that. If anybody wants to jump in, they're more than welcome to jump in. And I tried doing the YouTube Shorts live stream tonight. Didn't quite work out the way that I was hoping it would, to be completely honest with you. I was hoping that it would work. Didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. A little annoyed by it, but look, you live and let learn, right? But anyways, let's just jump straight into this. There's quite a bit that we need to cover. Today, we've already gotten, I believe, one Trump nomination. I believe we might have gotten even two. But one of them is the press secretary, the infamous press secretary that we thought was going to be Tucker Carlson, potentially Peter Doocy. That one would have been fun. But this one actually makes a lot of sense. I actually heard somebody asking them, who do you think is the best pick on Trump's cabinet? And I think if you have to look at it, I think it's pretty clear as day or not clear as day, but I would say that there is definitely some cabinet picks that I would be completely fine saying that they are decent picks for that position. For example, Susie Wiles, even though I don't necessarily agree with some of her positions, I think that it makes the most sense that she is the chief of staff, given that she ran Trump's campaign. That's pretty easy pick. Caroline Leavitt, I think, is the name of the person who ended up taking. I'm looking like Joe Biden right now with the red background. There's the blue. Caroline Leavitt makes a lot of sense. She was the Trump campaign spokesperson. And so she makes a lot of sense. Anyways, without further ado, we're going to jump into some of the stories now. There's quite a bit. My dog is running back and forth between these dog things. Okay. So let's go to Twitter. And I want to show you guys the first story. Let's go ahead here. One second. I got to rearrange some things here. One second. I'm trying to find it. It's in here somewhere. Because there's a story that I have that ties into this one. Here it is. All right. So, first story up is this right here. Okay. So, apparently, where are you? Window capture. Oh my goodness. So what happens when you try to alter things on the fly? Things don't quite go the way you wanted them to. All right. So we have this story right here from Aaron Rupar. This man is a mad genius. He does a lot of coverage over these rallies. This is saying that House Republicans are now saying that Trump will cut more than $2 trillion in federal spending. Check out the look on Maria Bartiromo's face when Ralph Normal says this. Let's go ahead and take a watch.
$1 trillion in waste?
Maria, it'll be more than that. I mean, what President Trump has done, a couple of things. One, he's gotten the enthusiasm of the whole country. The votes showed that. The election night showed that.
Yeah.
Secondly, he's putting business people that have done it. Look at what Elon Musk has done. Look at what...
Let's be very clear. Elon Musk has absolutely ran X into the ground, okay? There's been some successful pieces here and there that he has absolutely taken some credit for. But we could look at X and see how well he managed to bring something that is completely sinking up. And we clearly see that did not work out too well. All right, let's go to the, 1 second here. Uh-oh. Lost my face. All right. So anyways, continue.
Vivek's done. They've actually built something. The only thing the Biden administration had were these pencil-necked elites who had never done anything other than get
Pencil neck elites. Sounds familiar, right? It kind of sounds like a talking point, right? Like Adam Schiff, that Donald Trump quote that he said on the campaign trail.
a government paycheck.
Do you think they can cut $2 trillion?
The funny thing about this, is this is coming from a congressional member, and listen to what he said.
Something. The only thing the Biden administration had were these pencil-necked elites who had never done anything other than get a government paycheck.
Has Ralph Norman done anything? Let's go and check. Let's take a look at this, because I don't believe that Ralph Norman is a businessman, but he might be. Let's take a look at what he is. Let's see if all he's done is serve. After college, he joined his father's construction business, helped grow it, and went, okay. So he did do some pretty good stuff here. Let's see. Helped grow one of the South Carolina's most successful commercial real estate developers over the course of his career. So it doesn't say quite when he ended up jumping in, but man, this dude graduated in 1975. How long has he been in Congress? That's the question, right? Let's check him out. Ralph Norman, Congress. I guarantee you. Oh, he's been in Congress from, 2017. Okay. Respectable. That's respectable. But that's the thing. They're saying they're going to cut more than $2 trillion in federal spending. I'm very curious how they're going to do that. And in fact, we have Vivek to explain to us how he's going to do that. Okay, this is the Republicans' grand plan to cut spending. All right, let's watch this.
If your social security number ends in an odd number, you're out. If it ends in an even number, you're in. There's a 50% cut right there. Of those who remain, if your social security number starts in an even number, you're in. And if it starts with an odd number, you're out. Boom. That's a 75% reduction. Then literally stochastically. Okay. If you're
What he is referring to is if your social security number ends in an odd, you're out. And if it ends in an even, you're in. That's a 50% cut right here. This is his plan for government efficiency. I believe this is in reference to Social Security benefits. Yeah, this is the grand plan, guys. Remember, these are businessmen. They know what they're doing. And guess what? It's a lottery. You got to draw your number, guys. Hopefully your Social Security number doesn't end in an even number, because you're screwed. You're still going to pay into taxes, but you're still going to get screwed in the end of it all. Makes a lot of sense, right? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, so that happened. I'm sorry, what, sir? Yeah, exactly, Wes. What was that? Let's play that one more time for the folks in the back. Let's play that one more time.
If your social security number ends in an odd number, you're out. If it ends in an even number, you're in. There's a 50% cut right there. Of those who remain,
Of those who remain. So let's be clear how he's playing this math game, okay? He's going to say, look, first of all, we're going to do a lottery. And if you just happen to be odd or even, then you'll get in. And then we're going to reduce it even more, guys.
Social security number starts in an even number, you're in. And if it starts with an odd number, you're out. Boom. That's a 75% reduction. Then literally.
This is insane. This is, I put on here, this is a sign of a man who doesn't know a thing about government efficiency. Like, let's just randomly get rid of a huge amount of people and see how things go. Yeah, it sounds good, right? Let's just see how it goes. You know, might be good, might be bad. In other news, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene with this clip here. This is not uncommon, and we're going to go through a few of these. So, for anyone who's unaware, Republicans are the party of law and order, right? Republicans love law and order. Okay, that's what they love, right? They love law and order. They love the back the blue, right? They hate lawfare. They hate lawfare. Donald Trump in lawfare. Rah, rah, right? Well, here's the thing about that. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what Marjorie Taylor Greene now is saying now that the Republicans have gotten a little bit of power.
For the next pandemic is actually recognizing that the last pandemic resulted in crimes against humanity. People that perpetuated and continue to perpetuate these crimes need to be prosecuted. And that needs to be starting in.
Excuse me, what? What was that? What was that, Marjorie? What did you just say? Hold on.
Perpetuate these crimes need to be prosecuted.
Hold on. All right. Y'all didn't hear that, right? I didn't hear it. Did y'all hear that? Let's play it one more time. Let's walk it back. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. What was that?
Perpetuated and continue to perpetuate these crimes need to be prosecuted.
Got it.
And that needs to be starting in the next administration, and I'm pretty sure our next attorney general will do that, and I look forward to seeing that happen. Mr.
I do too. Good freaking luck. If this is not, remember how Republicans sat there and talked about lawfare and how they're weaponizing the DOJ for this and this and this, and oh my God, they're going after Republicans and J6ers and everything else. What is this? This is the definition of lawfare. This is the definition of weaponizing the DOJ.
Chairman, I yield back the.
This is insane. But this is nothing new. Here's what Rand Paul tweeted out. I bet Robert RFK Jr. parody. This is a parody account, not actually RFK Jr. Says, "Dear Dr. Fauci, I'm still looking for you sincerely," and it probably says RFK Jr. Rand Paul says, "I bet we find him," and Elon Musk says, "Yes." This is ridiculous. I don't know what crime they want to say. Crimes against humanity. What the hell is even that? What is even that? We're running through these things pretty quickly. In other news, we have Tom Homan. Ooh, doing that Alex Jones impersonation is just brutal. It's just brutal. So in other news, we have Tom Homan, who decided he was going to say some choice words about how they are going to handle the crisis on the border. It's a pretty deep thought. Tom Homan is certainly going to approach it with reasonability. I think he is going to sit there and understand that we need to do some asylum claims. We need to work on trying to find a pathway to citizenship. Yeah. And I'm sure that he wants to sit there and find, reasonable solutions. Let's take a listen to what Tom Homan wants to do for the immigration crisis on the border. Let's go and take a listen to this.
Look, the cartels, they're like a Fortune 500 company. The Sinaloa cartels, they're in over 40 countries on the globe. Not only are they smuggling record amount of narcotics in the United States, they are now in every major city of the United States, taking over the distribution within the United States. And at the RNC, during my speech at the RNC, I echoed what President Trump has told me, that he will designate them terrorist organizations because they have killed more. The criminal cartels of Mexico have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined.
Okay, I didn't watch this all the way through. Is that true? Hold on. Wait.
Not going to do it. Mexico's been dealing with this for 30 years. And I hate to say it, but it's just a fact. Much of the Mexican military, much of the Mexican government, they're corrupt. We know that. Yeah. That's why even when I was ICE director, I vetted units, and we bet these guys ourselves that we work with down there. We didn't even tell them everything. Not every cop and soldier is corrupt. I'm not saying.
Oh, I thought I didn't listen. Hold on, wait, where is that? Let me go back a little bit here.
Right. So President Trump says he's going to designate a terrorist organization and wipe them off the face of the earth because they have killed more. The criminal cartels of Mexico have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined.
Yeah, but Blizza, that's fair. If you're using that, that's fair. But I don't even know if I would agree. Like how, like every one of those organizations.
Take the 9/11 times that by 100, right? So President Trump says he's going to designate a terrorist organization and wipe them off the face of the earth because Mexico's not going to do it. Mexico's been dealing with this for 30 years.
If Mexico, think about this. If Mexico's not going to do it, right, and you're going to quote unquote wipe them off the face of the earth, how are you going to do that? Right? Mexico's not going to just let you in, right?
And I hate to say it, but it's just a fact. Much of the Mexican military, much of the Mexican government, they're corrupt. We know that. Yeah. That's why even when I was ICE director, I vetted units, and we bet these guys ourselves that we work with down there. We didn't even tell them everything. Not every cop and soldier is corrupt. I'm not saying that. I'm sure there's soldiers and police officers down there doing it for the right reason, but there's a lot of corruption there. And the cartels, if you're a police officer and you're making, $36 a week, and the cartel comes and gives you $100,000 to let something happen, they're going to take it. I mean, many of them will. So it's going to take U.S. Special Operations, U.S. Intelligence to track these guys down, follow the money, and just same thing President Trump did to ISIS and the Caliphate. He can do it. He did that terrorist organization. He can do it to the criminal.
So I don't know if he is referencing any kind of military action. I certainly don't know if he's referencing any kind of military action, but that would certainly be a little bit on the yikesy end, right? Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So also, let's talk a little bit about some political advantages, so to speak. Donald Trump, as everybody knows, nominated Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz to, guys, if y'all drink this stuff here, tastes amazing. It's low sugar. It tastes really, really good. But I'll tell you what, this stuff right here will give you the burps. It's amazing. So as many as you guys know, Donald Trump nominated Matt Gaetz to Attorney General. It caused a lot of stir. We'll get into some of those stories here in just a minute. And one of those issues was with Matt Gaetz is that he was being investigated by the House, I believe, Ethics Committee regarding some of his activities. Okay, because I can't say anything on YouTube or it'll get demonetized, or not demonetized, but it'll get striked. Certain activities, and we'll get into all the other details of it, but basically it's the rumor is that he was taken off of there, or he left Congress early to avoid that report coming out. Well, let's take a look at who Donald Trump wanted as the number 2 and number 3 spots at the DOJ. It turns out that Trump just picked his own personal criminal defense lawyers to the number 2 and number 3 top spots at the DOJ. In any other era, this would have been a big story. A clear conflict of interest, a corrupt violation of keeping the Justice Department independent. But with Trump, barely a notice. And that's correct. I have not noticed anybody really talk about this all that much. And this is pretty crazy. So you have Matt Gaetz at number 1 and Trump's own personal criminal defense lawyers at number 2 and number 3. This is far from independent. Far, 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 far from independent. And to move on from that as well, we see a little bit of trouble within the Republican ranks about how they are going to nominate Matt Gaetz. And we can see this with Trey Gowdy.
We'll see. I think, like I said at the beginning, a lot of these senators want to get most of these through, if not all, that they can. Trey, I'll give you last word on this about Molly's point about the DOJ not going forward, the FBI not going forward with charges against Gaetz.
With all due respect to Molly, I was there for it. If you want to give credit to somebody, give it to Kash Patel, Jim Jordan, John Ratcliffe, James Comer. Don't give it to the guy that was out putting on makeup while other people were doing the investigation. He just picked Jay Clayton. He just picked Todd Blanche, both of whom would be fantastic. They would do exactly what you wanted done. You don't have to pick between character and competency. You can actually have both in a nominee, but Gaetz doesn't have both.
Ouch! Ruh-roh! Yeah. This is being echoed, for anyone who's unaware, this is being echoed throughout Congress right now about Matt Gaetz. Trey Gowdy looks like such a Scooby-Doo villain. It's insane. He's approaching Roger Stone levels of looking like a cartoon villain. Yeah, but let's give Trey Gowdy a little bit of fairness here, okay? Look, he's sticking up against Matt Gaetz. Talking about corruption. And how crazy is this? No FBI background checks will be done for Gaetz or Gabbard. Gaetz or Gabbard. Now, for anyone who's unaware, we'll go through this article from CNN real quick and cover this. Let's see. Oops. We'll go over this here in just a second. I want to make sure nothing pops up. I have my ad blocker on, but for some reason it's not blocking some of these ads. All right. Make sure. Nothing like me having to get rid of an entire video. All right, let's go over this article. It's talking about this no FBI background checks. President-elect Donald Trump's transition team is bypassing traditional FBI background checks for at least some of his cabinet picks while using private companies to conduct vetting of potential candidates for administration jobs. People close to the transition planning say. Trump and his allies believe the FBI system is slow and plagued with issues that could stymie the president-elect's plans to quickly begin the work of implementing his agenda. People briefed on the plans said. Critics say the intrusive background checks sometimes... Here's the first thing that's really interesting to me. You're looking at the president-elect trying to get in his nominees, and you're saying that they're slow and plagued with issues that could stymie the president-elect's plans. What would those issues be? Right? I think Gates is a distraction when he fails and he appoints his own lawyers. It'll be seen as relief rather than a violation. Yeah, and it could be a smokescreen too, Wes. Because again, I go back to what we talked about yesterday. This is kind of similar, right? When we talked about the Stephen Miller or the Madison Square Garden rally, right? We looked at Madison Square Garden. Everybody focused on Tony Hinchcliffe, but they didn't focus on all of the other characters there at Madison Square Garden. So for me, this is one thing. This is one thing for me where I think that it might be a little bit of a smokescreen to take the attention off some of these more contentious picks, right? I think it's a payoff for Gates doing his bidding for the last 4 years and giving him a shot to get confirmed instead of just dumping. There's been different rumors about why Gates is in there and things like that, right? But anyways, the discussions as some Trump have floated controversial choices for high-level positions in the U.S. government, including Matt Gaetz for Attorney General and Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence. And this is the thing to me. If you're going to have the Director of National Intelligence, I don't want that being done by a private company. I want that being done by the FBI, right? You could sit there and say for the AG, this may not be wholly necessary, but I would argue that if you are the Director of National Intelligence, you ought to be vetted by the FBI. So that's the thing to me. I'm not agreeing with this whatsoever. Ultimately, the president has the final authority on who he nominates and decides to share intelligence with, regardless of the established protocol set in the wake of World War II, to make sure those selections don't have unknown foreign ties or other issues that could raise national security concerns. But circumventing background checks would be bucking a long-established norm in Washington. It also reflects Trump's deep mistrust of the national security establishment, which he derides as the deep state. Sources say he privately questioned the need for law enforcement background checks. Could you imagine if they didn't do any background checks on Matt Gaetz or Tulsi Gabbard? Crazy. Dean Mayer, a national security attorney in Washington, D.C., said the incoming Trump administration doesn't want harmony. They don't want the FBI to coordinate a norm. They want to hammer the norm. And in fact, they want to dismantle the FBI. If he does get confirmed, he's going to pull a Scaramucci to say months of firing. Yeah. I don't think he's going to do that. I think there's one potential firing that I could see happening, and that's going to be Marco Rubio. Some of Trump's advisors began circulating a memo before the election urging him to bypass the traditional background check process for some of his appointees. A source briefed on the memo told CNN. Let's see here. Here we go. Gabbard's the real interesting one here. Let's listen to what this says. Gabbard, meanwhile, has frequently appeared to take positions more favorable to foreign leaders widely considered not just American adversaries in some cases, but in some cases, brutal dictators, including the president of Syria and Russia, raising questions from allies and critics alike. Gabbard notably met with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad in Syria in 2017 and said in 2019 that he was not an enemy of the United States. In early 2022, she echoed Russian President Vladimir Putin's rationale for the country's invasion of Ukraine, pinning the blame not on Moscow, but on the Biden administration failure to acknowledge Russia's legitimate security concerns regarding Ukraine's becoming a member of NATO, a popular strain of thought in some right-wing circles. In addition to the confirmation process, FBI background checks are used to vet nominees for a security clearance, which an attorney general nominee is required to have to do the job. As President Trump could bypass the process in order Gates to be granted a security clearance, which this has been the biggest issue as well for anyone who's unaware, is there's been some security clearance issue concerns with some of these candidates. And so this is another reason why they're potentially trying to go around the FBI, is because they want to be able to try to give them some security clearance. As he did his first term, his son, Jared Kushner, after the approval language to make questions about potential conflicts of interest. Trump ordered clearances to be granted to about 25 people whose applications were initially denied for possible national security concerns. If Gates does not participate in the vetting process, the FBI could still try to do a basic investigation at the request of the Senate. Do you think the Senate is going to do this? Probably not. The Senate is Republican majority right now. But one source familiar with the process noted that it is difficult to collect some data without his consent, which is fair. News officials are still waiting for the Trump transition team to submit a list of names, including those under consideration of cabinet-level roles, to be formally vetted for security clearances. Trump's team has, to date, resisted participating in the formal transition process, which includes signing memorandums of understanding and secrecy agreements. Remember, guys, Donald Trump just recently was in a lot of hot water for how he was keeping some of those classified documents. Okay, that was a big deal. And so right now, it seems like they're still resisting some of this stuff. Typically considered a prerequisite for accessing classified material for the new administration assumes office. Instead, Trump's transition team has been focused on conducting its own internal vetting. Oh, boy. You know, when the police investigate the police, it's always good, right? Wes, you know this more than anything. When the police investigate the police, it's always good, right? Oh, really? I can see him falling out with Elon, RFK, and Gates. Their egos are all the... Yeah, there's a lot of big egos in that cabinet. And we'll get into that in a second, too. So anyways, that's that. So basically, we have no FBI background checks are going to be probably done for Gates or Gabbard, which, quite frankly, is pretty concerning. But wait, there's some more Trump controversy. Wes, you're going to want to listen to this one. This one's good, okay? I did a little bit of investigating, okay? And a little investigative journalism. Okay? Let's take a listen to this, all right? Superintendent Ryan Walters said the Bible is back in Oklahoma's classrooms. We are getting our kids back on track. Let's listen to what he has to say.
I'm excited to announce today that Oklahoma is the first state to bring the Bible back to the classroom. Today, we purchased over 500 Bibles that will be in the AP government classrooms across the state. Bible just like this. We have the Bible, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. These are foundational documents in our nation's history. Our kids have to understand the role the Bible played in influencing American history. It's very clear that the radical left has driven the Bible out of the classroom, which leads to a lack of understanding of American history. We will not stop until we've brought the Bible back to every classroom in the state.
So there's a couple of issues with this. Okay, first and foremost is they're bringing Bibles back to the states. This is definitely going to probably cause some kind of a lawsuit. So there's that general easy argument right here, okay? The easy argument here is to say, okay, well, what about the Quran? What about the, oh goodness, what's the Jewish Bible? I can't remember, but there's that, right? Why are we specifically using the Bible? It's a Christian Bible, okay? But there's a bigger issue here. Okay, nobody's seeing this. Tor, thank you, Wes. Let's talk about something. You ready for this? You ready for this? Let's rewind this, and I want you guys to pay close attention to this.
Bible, the Constitution, Bible.
Look at this Bible, okay? Let's look at this Bible. All right? Now, what I want you guys to see is something that's really fascinating. Okay? Try to get pulled up here. Does this look familiar? For anyone who's unaware, that Bible that he is holding up right there is also known as the Trump Bible. They ordered 500 of these God Bless the USA Bibles. They are actually called the Greenwood Bibles. Okay, they're not the Trump Bibles. But here's the thing. Let me get this pulled up. I want to pull the story up for you guys. Hold on. Wait, there's more with this. I did a video on this on TikTok. Where is it? Trying to find it here. I had it up on, I think it's BBC. Yes, here it is. All right, let's take a look at how well these Bibles did. Trump made $300,000 from selling Bibles Trump has made $300,000 from branded Bibles listed on the financial disclosure form as the Greenwood Bible, or this Bible right here that this guy right here is holding. So, not only are they just going to issue Bibles, but are they going to issue this particular Bible? Keep in mind that this Bible, guys, was also one of the ones that caused a lot of controversy because they were being made in China. So, thought that was really interesting. That was my investigative journalism for the day. So, Wes, you said, by the way, that Pelosi line you reminded me of, at first the situation makes the lawman look so filthy, but they investigate themselves and it turns out that they're not guilty. Right. What could go wrong when the investigation is handled by that way? Let's see here. Oh, so we're going to go back to the Matt Gaetz thing. We're a little all over the place. Forgive me for that. House Speaker Mike Johnson said he does not think the House Ethics Committee report on allegations related to Matt Gaetz should be released, and he is going to request that the Ethics Committee not release the report. Well, guess what? Here's Speaker Mike Johnson on December 2023 regarding the release of additional January 6th security footage. Look, we want the American people to draw their own conclusions. I don't think partisan elected officials in Washington should represent a narrative and expect that it should be seen as the ultimate truth on it. When we know that they hid certain elements, we want transparency. We should demand it. The American people do. We trust, House Republicans trust the American people to draw their own conclusions. Republicans don't have a spine. Republicans want to sit there and tell you, yeah, today I'm going to tell you to do it this way, but then tomorrow I'm not going to tell you to do it that way. West said made in China, and they put American stuff with Christian stuff, so it's not a separation of church state. Even having a flag on the front. So I want to mention this too, because I thought about this too, Wes. You can't see it in this picture because it's cut out. But the thing about this that really makes me interested is I wonder if this was a long game plan, okay? Because I wonder if by putting in some of these constitutional things in this Bible was a way for him to be able to get this to happen. Maybe I'm just stretching that a little bit, but notice what he said. Listen to where he said this Bible is going to be placed. Listen to where he said.
Excited to announce today that Oklahoma is the first state to bring the Bible back to the classroom. Today, we purchased over 500 Bibles that will be in the AP government classrooms across the state. Bible just like this. We have the Bible, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. These are foundational documents in our nation's history.
What did he say? I missed it.
Today, we purchased over 500 pounds today that Oklahoma is the first state to bring the Bible back to the classroom. Today, we purchased over 500 Bibles that will be in the AP government class. See how that's so this is super important to understand a couple of things here. Yeah, so this is the really interesting thing. So AP government, first of all, AP government, I believe, and it's been a long time since I've been in high school, but I believe AP government is an advanced placement government. It's not your typical government class, right? It's kind of almost like an elective, right? So there's that element. And the other element is that he's putting it in government classrooms. Well, think about it. If I'm looking at this, is this a way that's they already knew that this was going to be the plan. They were trying to figure out how to get it through. They were trying to think of a way to get this through to where it would hold up if it were to come into the Supreme Court. And look at this. You have these are, I believe, all the people that signed the Constitution. You see that there is the preamble and all that stuff. The Bill of Rights, I believe, are in it. So is this a way for them to get around that idea of establishing a religion or whatever? I don't know. Call me a conspiracy theorist. I just think it's really interesting. But anyways, so that we went over that. Here's some more disarray going on with the nomination. This is Senator John Cornyn, who also was running for Senate leadership and ended up getting the least amount of votes. But let's listen to him.
Be any limitation on the Senate Judiciary Committee's investigation, including whatever the House Ethics Committee has generated?
I barely know Gaetz. All I know is he likes picking fights on social media. But at the end of the day, You got to have the votes, and you better have the resume. That's how this process works.
So yeah, that's kind of something that we've been seeing. A lot of people. Senator John Cornyn has come out and directly refuted Speaker Mike Johnson by saying there should be no limits on the Senate Judiciary Committee's investigation into Matt Gaetz. There is a battle brewing in the Republican Party. This separation that's going on right now in the Republican Party is good for Americans. Okay, trust me when I tell you guys, this is good for Americans. Okay, because if we did not have this separation going on, it would just be complete, like, give Donald Trump what he wants. Now, in the end, I think that they're going to end up giving Donald Trump what he wants, to be very clear. But this separation is at least somewhat of a little bit of a hope. We have here, too, Republican Senator Mike Rounds is directly contradicting Mike Johnson as well. More of them.
Desire to pick Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
This is a long
to lead
one.
the Health and Human Services Department.
And saying the Senate will likely get its hand on the Matt Gaetz investigation findings. So we're starting to see, again, guys, they only have like a 3-seat or 2-seat majority in the Senate. So not going to be doing too well. Gaetz must be the worst. And this is John Bolton. John Bolton, who was in, I believe, Trump's first, what was it? AG or Secretary of Defense or whatever, ambassador. Gaetz must be the worst nomination for a cabinet position in American history. This is something that falls well outside the proper scope of deference to a president nominating members of his senior team. Gaetz is not only incompetent for this job, he does not have character or the civic virtue the founding fathers wanted. The Republican Party should oppose this nomination. So lots of Republicans. And also we have Tulsi Gabbard. We have seen a bunch of these little clips coming out from new nominees and things like that. Listen to what Tulsi Gabbard had to say.
Our military, by using our men and women in uniform as mercenaries, serving the interests of multinational corporations like ExxonMobil and foreign countries like Saudi Arabia. Now, for political reasons, he claims he is against so-called endless wars, but he supports and is carrying out 19th and 20th century style naked imperialism.
Yeah, so here it is, Tulsi going after Donald Trump. Tulsi's also Republican, I would agree. Here's Mike Pence on RFK Jr. So again, if anybody's unaware, RFK Jr., give me 1 second. RFK Jr. has been nominated to the Department of Health and Human Services, and more is coming out about this, and we'll cover this in a minute. Mike Pence calls on Senate Republicans to reject RFK Jr. nominations for HHS. If confirmed, RFK Jr. will be the most pro-abortion Republican appointed Secretary of HHS in modern history. Mike Pence has come out with a fury ever since J6, and I can't say I blame him. I think he's certainly within that right to do so. And let's listen to this. This is Caroline Leavitt, who was just announced as the new press secretary. Let's listen to what she has to say here about RFK Jr.
National federal smart grid that would control how long we can keep the lights on in our homes, how long we can keep the water on. That is communism, not capitalism. President Trump opposes that, and I think the American people do. RFK.
And we're seeing this time and time again, where these Trump cabinet picks are just absolutely like going after each other in some regard or another. And now all of a sudden they're coming down to the dinner table to eat. The likely explanation here is that they wanted power. What's up, Non-Fron? Yeah, more likely what this is that they came to the table, they wanted some power, right? They wanted that position in government, and they knew that the only thing they had to do with Donald Trump was kiss the ring. That's all they had to do. They didn't have to do anything else. All they had to do was sit there and kiss the ring. It's that simple. And then the next thing we got here is our new press secretary. Make America blonde again. What? What was that? Make America blonde again. Huh. Okay. Yeah. So that's a thing. Oh, that's what we were just looking at. That's it for the news. There's one more thing I want to cover here. For anyone unaware, Twitter is seeing some massive Exodus. There's a lot of people that are leaving Twitter. There are a kind of people who aren't usually blind. Oh, yeah. So, oh wow, I got 30 plus notifications on Blue Sky. I don't know if anybody else is like this, but I absolutely love leaving my notifications as they are, so I can feel like I'm just like, did a good thing here. Give me 1 second. Trying to change some settings here. I want to show you guys something that I came across. So I'm going to warn you guys. Yeah, I like to feel important. Exactly, non-Fron. You know what I'm talking about. When you got like 20 plus notifications, when you got 20 plus notifications, like, I'm just going to leave it. I don't want to touch it. It's like a present, It's like you don't want to open it up and stuff. It's really funny. I love the dough. Exactly. It's like, it's like when you get a beer and you pop it and you're like, oh, this is going to be good. You drink your beer. It's kind of like that. Exactly. Hey, look, I'm not trying to brag. I got 30 plus notifications. All right, y'all. Just saying. Twitter's popping too. Let's take a look at what Greg Price had to say about our new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. And I'll show you all my response. And Wes, you're really going to like it. So Greg Price said they're attacking Pete Hegseth for having a tattoo of the Jerusalem cross, a Christian symbol that dates back to the 13th century. These people are nothing but anti-Christian bigots. Let me actually show you the original tweet that was referring to. Give me 1 second. Because that was actually in a reply to a tweet. I got to find it here. Hold on. Here it is. Here's the original tweet. Pete Hegseth, the Army National Guard veteran and Fox News host nominated by Donald Trump to lead the Democratic defense, was flagged as a possible insider threat by a fellow service member due to a tattoo that he had associated with white supremacists. So if we look at that, Greg Price is now saying they're attacking him for this Christian symbol. You know what my reply was? You're going to like this one, Wes. You're going to like this one. Is someone going to tell him, what about a certain Hindu symbol that a particular group took over in the 1940s? It's just a symbol, bro. Get out of here with that ridiculous take. This is something that I think is really, really, really annoying. Oh, it's just a symbol. It means peace, bro. It's just peace. That's what it means. Prosperity. Miss me with that. Now, am I going to sit there and say, let's be very clear here, okay? All jokes aside, am I going to sit there and say that Greg Pete Hegseth got this symbol for that purpose? I'm not going to attribute that to him. Why? Because I don't know what his reasoning was. But if we know that it is a symbol that is used in these certain groups, it is worth noting. Don't take it one way, don't take it the other. I think tattoos have a whole bunch of symbols. If anything, it just shows you when you get a tattoo, make sure you know what the hell that you're putting on your body. Make sure you know what you're doing. If you're going to go in and you're going to get a tattoo, probably look it up on the internet first or get some. Now, granted, Pete Hegseth is a little bit older. Okay, maybe he didn't have the internet back at that time, to be fair, but look it up. I'll let the dog in real quick. So yeah, look up the symbols. But I want to talk to you guys. We'll crack open the notifications here on my Blue Sky. Definitely follow me on Blue Sky, y'all. There's a lot of people. What's going on right now is people are leaving X in droves. I was at like 1,200 or 1,340 followers, and today I'm down to 1,300 and I think like 1,313. So yeah, it's been pretty gnarly. So, but yeah, so it's been pretty gnarly. Also, it could be something, it could not be, but any tattoo artist worth their salt be like, what is this and why do you want it? I've been in a tattoo parlor when people got denied. Yeah. 1312. Yeah, I know. Hey, it's a good number, Wes. I'm proud of it, but I am a little bit skeptical of where those 1,300 came from, just because of the fact that I've rapidly lost about 30 followers over the past week. It's been pretty gnarly. But Blue Sky's been pretty good. I would recommend anybody, if they can, go to Blue Sky. There is an effort being pushed right now on Blue Sky to go ahead, and if anybody comes in and they start trolling, it's kind of like a nice little unified community where they just start blocking people. It's pretty great, actually. I like to say this. You can go on Twitter. You know, Twitter's like your day job. You go in, you hate it, but you know you got to do it. But then Blue Sky's kind of like that vacation home. You know, you just go over there and you kick back, you relax, you drink a margarita, and you're just chilling with the homies. That's what it feels like. And a lot of big names are coming in there. I think they've seen numbers come up pretty crazy. Yes, block lists and starter packs are fantastic on Blue Sky. I would highly recommend people go look at it. It's pretty cool. Wes, I don't know why, but the moment I came into Blue Sky, I was greeted by nothing but cartoon pictures of cats. It was the weirdest thing in the world. I literally had to go through my entire Discover feed and be like, not interested. I don't know why. Like I said, I just started. I had no followers, but I was getting a ton of cat pictures, and I was like, what is this crap? And I was just like clicking it and saying, you know, deny. But it's been good. I like it a lot. What are some other stories? Looks like I got 51 notifications. My goodness. So yeah, guys, MAGA will have buyer's remorse on this. That was kind of the theme of the show, and I wanted to kind of explain that a little bit. I definitely think that MAGA is going to see some huge, and the inflation is going to go up as soon as January 1st comes around and he starts implementing tariffs. You're going to see massive regret coming around. Right, exactly, Wes. That was how I was greeted. That's how I was greeted. They're like, hey, we know our audience that usually comes in here, so let's go ahead and feed you this stuff. Yeah, the search results, for anybody who's unaware, search results came up with the search results for tariffs ended up skyrocketing. Let me see if I can pull this up for you guys. After the election, people didn't know what tariffs were. Let's see. Interest over time. Oh, here we go. Let me show y'all guys this. People waited till after the election to figure out what is going on. What is Trump's plan? Search term. Interest over time. Look at that. What is Trump's plan? They're figuring it out last minute, guys. November 4th and November 7th. It looks like dang near the day of. Day before the election. All right, who's the best one? What is a tariff and who pays for it? Look at this. Look at this interest. 3 branches of government. What is a naturalized U.S. citizen? Like, this is the problem, is that MAGA was running on a feels campaign. MAGA was running on, look, we will make America great again, right? They're like, what? And and we all knew this was going to be the case, but people still voted for this guy. And so what will happen is, I believe that he's able to raise tariffs up to, I believe, 15% without congressional approval. Anything after that, he will have to get congressional approval from, which, given if he has both the House and the Senate, he could certainly raise that even higher. So what I think is going to end up happening is he's going to raise it to 15%. And what we're going to see is some pretty dramatic inflation across the board. Rate drops, I believe the prediction is that rate drops are not going to be happening now. Whereas they were going to potentially happen under Biden and Kamala Harris. So, all in all, guys, we're going to see some pretty crazy stuff. Upgrade your computers now. Yeah, chips are about to get crazy expensive. The other thing, too, people that don't realize is think about all the stuff that we import. We get a lot of stuff from overseas. Yeah, they're about to go wild. You thought that the mining days were crazy. Just wait until you get a hold of the Trump tariff days. The Trump tariff days are going to be insane. We can look at things like beer. Most people don't think about this. Remember, there's a Bud Light strike. Okay. I don't know if it still is a thing. I don't know if that is or not. Remember when they wanted to own the libs? That was the entire campaign. Own the libs. And they got rid of Bud Light. Well, now they got rid of beer, Bud Light. So Corona is imported from Mexico. I think Heineken is also imported from where is it? It's an import. What are imported beers? Let's see. Imported beers, US. I know that the Northerners are going to be a little bit upset by that because of the Canadian beer. Canadian beer is pretty popular up north. I forgot the name of it. Imported beers to US. So we have Guinness, Corona, Heineken, Modelo Especial. That one I know is extremely popular. In fact, I believe Modelo's ended up seeing a pretty high increase when the Bud Light strike was happening, if I'm not mistaken. So if you drink Modelo's, this stuff's going to be a little bit more expensive. Stella Artois, a little bougie beer right there. What else do we have? Australia DAMM, something like that. What are the best-selling imported beer brands? Doesn't have that. Top imported beers. Heineken, Dos Equis. I think about Dos Equis. Dos Equis is definitely going to be an interesting one. Labatt. That was it. Labatt. Labatt. Labatt is one of the ones that I know is very popular up in New York. It's a Canadian beer. That one's going to be pretty expensive. Pacifico. So some of those imported beers that are going to go up in price. Now, your good old Budweiser and things like that are probably going to be fine. But again, they want to own the libs, so why would they do that? So people tend to think about imported shit as this fancy stuff they don't use, but then they realize that their tomatoes are imported, their coffee is imported, their shoes and electronics are imported. Yeah, coffee prices. Remember when what's her face? Caroline Leavitt said, "Make America Blonde again." Well, just a heads up, your pumpkin spice latte might be a little bit more expensive because if he poses tariffs, where do you think Starbucks gets their beans? A lot of Starbucks beans, I believe, come from South America. Where do Starbucks coffee beans come from? More than 30 countries in the coffee belt. So Latin America, Asia Pacific, Africa. 450,000 farmers. They also own and operate Hacienda Alsacia, a 240-hectare coffee farm in Costa Rica that serves as a global research and development facility. So, yeah, I mean, it would make sense, right, Wes? We're not in like a really humid climate. It would be pretty bad to grow coffee beans. Are people ready for a 50% hike on all coffee prices? Nope, they'll go nuts. Yeah, they'll go nuts. Just wait. And this is my biggest issue is like when we talk about economics, I tell people, I'm like, look, we had that argument yesterday. Yes, inflation is cumulative, and I know that prices have gone up. I know that. But the reality is the economy right now, at least, has been in a good spot. That's the reality of our situation right now. And when you look at the inflation rate year over year, we're down. Now, it went up in October by 0.2%, but it was like very negligible, which is expected. It's going to go up and go down. But the inflation rate is down. We see wealth outpacing inflation, income outpacing inflation. We see GDP going up, oil production going up. Now, I can't say that's going to stay that way. Can we talk about how they're not even targeted tariffs? Like that's the biggest issue is like, well, we've done tariffs before. Yeah, we did tariffs under like steel and like aluminum. We didn't do blanket tariffs on all. Now, keep this in mind too, okay? We put these tariffs on countries like China. Blanketed tariffs are more than just simply like raw materials from these countries. It's on every single product in every single country, including our allies. Our allies, who we are supposed to be favorable to, will end up seeing an increased price with tariffs. Yeah, we can't grow coffee here. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, he wants blanket tariffs. And it's not just going to be based on country of origin. From everything we've seen, he wants to even give it to some of our allies, Wes. That's the crazy thing about it. Let me see if there's been any news on Trump's tariffs, because I don't know Trump tariffs. Here's some 6 things to get expected. This is from Business Insider. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So this is another thing too that a lot of people don't realize. Why do y'all think that Nike shoes are so expensive? It's because there's a tariff on Nike shoes. Nike shoes are not so expensive because of the fact that they're like, name brand, although that is a part of it. Nike shoes are expensive because they're tariffed, and they've been tariffed for quite a while. The National Retail Federation estimated that with Trump's proposals in place, I'll go ahead and share my screen with you guys here. Here we go. All right. Let's read along here. Blah, 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 blah. So apparel and shoes. Prices for apparel would increase by 12.5%. Prices for footwear would increase by 18.1%. And travel goods, which include backpacks and wallets, would increase by 13%. A Bank of America research note said retailers that source more than 20% of their goods from China, including Crocs and American Eagle, were at higher risk from Trump tariff proposals. Crocs told Business Insider in a statement that it had strong partnerships around the world and was well-versed in managing through various headwinds that impact our supply chain. In other words, pass on the cost to the consumer, right? That's what they're going to end up doing. As is standard, we will continue to monitor change in regulations and legislation as we move to the new administration, and we remain nimble in our ability to respond to the same. Didn't immediately respond for comment. Some retailers have already announced preparations to increase prices should Trump's tariff plans go into effect. Columbia said during an October earnings call that he was very concerned about the imposition of tariffs and the company was set to raise prices. Cost always goes to the consumer. Always will. Electronics. This is what you were just talking about, Wes. An October report from the Consumer Technology Association estimated that the proposed tariffs would increase laptop and tablet costs by 45%. Guys. Oh my gosh. 45%. Let's take out the calculator. All right. Let's just say you're at, we can just do basic math here. Let's just assume it's a $500 laptop. That's about right? Right now it's about $500, give or take. You're looking at an additional $225 on that $500 laptop. That's insane. Smartphone costs by 25%. Video game consoles. Hey, you gamers out there who voted for Trump. I hope you know that next Xbox 36 that comes out is about to be 39% more expensive. In other words, that $500 Xbox One X that's out there now is going to be about $725. The CTA report said that in 2023, China accounted for 87% of U.S. video game console imports, 78% of smartphone imports, and 79% of laptop and tablet imports. Could try to shift the production out of China. Gold said it's not an easy process. This is the problem I have, and I don't know if anybody else has had this issue. Oh, I got Non-Fawn I want to bring in here. Let's bring Non-Fawn in real quick. What up, buddy? Let me try to pull this up here.
Yo, what's up?
Yo. Whew. Yeah, these tariffs, man, are gnarly. I didn't realize just how expensive these things can be, but it's insane, dude.
Yeah.
What?
I'm curious. I know you debate people on TikTok. Do you feel like most conservatives understand what a tariff is?
No.
I don't think they do. Yeah.
No.
I
mean, we can literally look, like, I can't tell you how many times I've debated people on TikTok who there are a handful of people. So it's either one or the other. Usually you'll get people who are like, most of the time, it's people who don't have any idea about how politics works. I guarantee you, if you asked them what the 3 branches of government were, they probably wouldn't know. I know when I debated people on TikTok, and I still intend to do this next week on Tuesdays, selfish plug. The thing about it is they don't know. They just don't know. They kept saying these feel-good things, right? They kept saying and sitting there and saying, oh, well, there's no foreign wars, or oh, prices were cheaper under Trump, without understanding everything that was going on, right? And that's my biggest issue. And like Wes, who's now in here, was saying, the Google search says it all. Americans clearly didn't know what the hell a tariff was because the interest of tariffs increased exponentially.
Yep. After the election, yeah.
It's insane. And this is the thing I keep telling people too. What these reports that are coming out, and I want people in my audience to understand this, okay? These reports are being based on countries like China, okay? Understand that Donald Trump has made it his promise to increase tariffs, and I believe these tariffs are conservative estimates. I could be wrong in that. Let me go see what the Consumer Technology Association. Oh, here it is: a 10% or 20% on all imports from all countries, and a 60% tariff on all imports from China. So this is where the technology comes in. And this is fair. I wasn't sure if they were going to do, because I've seen a lot of these reports where people will be like, oh, it's only going to be a 5% tariff or a 7%. Like, so I'm glad to see they did 10 or 20. But keep in mind, just FYI, Donald Trump has mentioned, whether it's hyperbolic or not, we'll see, that he wants up to 200% tariffs. Okay. So this is just
that's all based in the reality of the people that he's talking to at those particular types of like rallies that he holds, and those people, as we were talking about, do not understand tariffs.
Right.
Like, to them, it is just, oh, we're punishing the Chinese and we're taking back control. They don't understand how it's actually going to affect them and how much more their everyday life is going to cost. So, like, I was going to say, like, yeah, the actual estimates come to like 10 to 20%, but I'm pretty sure at his rallies, he was talking about like 100% tariffs because he knows that they don't understand.
It feels right. It's like, hey, look, if I give them a big number and they cheer, then I know I'm doing something right. And that's exactly what it was. And this is the whole thing that you can go back to his picks, right? His picks, by any metric, you could say that, like, and I do think that there is a bit of I do think there's some loyalty there, right? But I think what he perceives as loyalty is not true loyalty based on what their comments have been in the past. We see Marco Rubio, we see Tulsi Gabbard, we see RFK Jr., we see all of these time and time again, these people that are in his cabinet have talked bad about him, right? But now that they realize that they get close, and this isn't anything new, this isn't like they just randomly knocked on Trump's door and was like, hey, can I get a cabinet position? No. What did they do? They sat there and slowly worked their way into his cabinet.
You said this before, and I agree with you. It's more about kissing the ring
100%
than it is about like what you've said before. Like, you can say anything in your past. Like, someone could look up my fucking Facebook history where I've like made fun of Trump a million times. But if I sincerely went and kissed the ring right now, he might appoint me for a secretary position.
Yep.
Like, I might get in the cabinet because all he really cares about is loyalty, like even more so than his first time. Like, in his first presidency, we knew he cared about loyalty. He said it. He was very weird about it with Mike Pence. And then, like, we knew that was his thing.
One way to put
it. Yeah, I'm being careful here because I know he's on YouTube too.
Yeah, I know. That's the difficult thing is trying to like navigate all these things. And I found out too, that I can't even stream on TikTok without being part of a alliance or some crap like that. I didn't realize that was a thing.
Oh my God, it's the dumbest shit ever. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I know my Twitch limits. I don't know anything else, so I'm just going to be careful.
If you think, go ahead.
It's really just about being able to kiss the ring for him. You can say whatever you want about, like, JD fucking Vance is one of the best examples of someone who hated Donald Trump for years, but then as soon as he was willing to kiss the ring, then it completely turned around and Peter Thiel was like, yeah, let's make this happen.
There's a lot of similarities with Project 2025, right? Like, this is my issue is when I look at how he's positioning things, it's very concerning to me about what he is doing. Don't get me wrong. I've told people this, and this is the issue. This is bigger than just the cabinet positions. We see this with some of the Republican congressmen who are saying that if he tells us to jump 3 feet on one leg, we'll jump 3 feet with one leg. That's just what we're supposed to do. I'm like, no, that's not what you're supposed to do. And this is something I'm really tired of hearing. I've heard right-wing media pundits. I won't say them by name, but they deserve to be called out by their name, Jack. When you sit there and you're like, well, Donald Trump gave us a referendum. Right? That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to listen to him. We were nominated, all bow down to Trump because we got our position in Congress because of you. No, you got your vote into Congress. And a lot of these places, they got a split vote, right? We see a president being elected versus the Democrat being elected. And now there are in some cases, obviously in some, where the president won, and in these districts, they won Republican as well. But the point of what I'm trying to get at is you're there to represent your constituents. You're not there to please the leader. That's not how this works in America. That's not how this works at all. You're supposed to represent your constituents. And that's something that drives me up a wall, is to just hear people sitting there going, well, you know, we won because of Trump. Let's go ahead and kiss that ring. It's terrifying.
Do you think that the right has any people that are okay? So like when I think of people that are out of line to the left or to the liberals, I think of like Rashid Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, sometimes AOC, but she's pretty much in line with the Democratic establishment. But like when I think of those people, like the Squad, as they're called, or whatever, I think that there are people on the Democratic side that are stepping out of line to go further to the left. Do you think that there's like an equivalent on the right?
Like what? In other words, to go further right?
I mean, either further right or just like in general against their party's status quo. Like, I mean, I guess you could also say
more willing to suck up to Trump now than they were before. Like the fact that like the GOP didn't have a platform in 2020, right? Because of all the divisions internally. And now they do have a platform, and it's almost entirely aligned with Trump. In fact, Trump said the GOP platform was his own Republican Party platform. So
yeah, and I tweeted this out, right, which was that like pretty much the GOP is now officially over. Anything that you knew of the GOP is no longer there. And some of the examples, I go back to what I said earlier, which is they with this issue with Matt Gaetz and the split that is happening in the Senate. One thing that MAGA is great about is messaging and to their base. If they label you a rhino, it's a scarlet letter, right? That's what they try to do, is they're trying to shame you into voting. And that to me screams authoritarian. I do not like it one bit. And that's kind of my issue I have right now, is that these people that are being picked because of their perceived loyalty to Trump, not their perceived loyalty to the country, right? Then we see in Congress, when Congress is sitting there and saying that we got here because of you, our dear leader. Thank you, our dear leader. We will listen to you, our dear leader. That is terrifying. So the day of the grand old party is the grand old gone party. It is not there anymore. It's not existent, because if you are part of the GOP, you'll be pushed out by the next election and replaced by somebody who is far more radical. Luckily, we saw Kerry Lake not get that position. Luckily, we saw Mark Robinson not get that position, but I don't want to. They were just very different candidates. Okay, let's be clear. They were a little bit. That's the one thing I think MAGA does really well, is like they favor people who are like quietly radical. But if you're too loud, then they're not going to really back you. They're going to kind of step away from you. But they know.
They need everybody to take their time. Correct. Like Mark Robinson was ahead of his time. Like there will if they have their way, there will be a Mark Robinson in 2026 or 2028 who performs much better than the Mark Robinson of 2024 did. So he was a little bit ahead of his time.
Right.
I feel so fucking depressed.
I'm not trying. Yeah. What were you going to say, non-fan? Because I feel like you were going to say something earlier.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm happy Mark Robinson lost as a North Carolinian.
Yeah, fuck him.
Oh, man.
Oh, and thank you for voting against him, which I'm assuming that you did.
I did in fact vote against him.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a very
Ugh.
it was a very weird feeling voting Democrat for the first time in my entire life. I know most people on the right don't believe me when I sit here and say that I voted for Mitt Romney in 2013. I voted for Trump in 16. I voted for Cruz in 18. And I sadly voted for Trump in 20. And so never going to make that mistake again. I didn't vote in 22. So this was the first time I had ever voted for a Democrat in my entire life. And I voted for the Democrat senatorial candidate as well. And I think one thing I've seen is the right moving progressively further right. The one thing that was holding Trump back in 2016 to 2020 is he didn't have loyal cabinet members. And this time around, he's got yes men surrounding him. We saw this even with there was like a documentary that came out or whatever that showed Trump watching something, and he was telling somebody to tweet out something. They're like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, let's do that. And I don't like it at all. What was it I was going to say? I was going to say something else. Oh, the other thing that concerns me is mass deportations. This is a very scary policy that I don't think has really been given a lot of details on. We know how Tom Homan feels, certainly. We know how Stephen Miller feels, certainly. This is something that I think, because you mentioned that Mark Robinson, this isn't his time. Depending on how they do these mass deportations, he may not, if we still have any democracy left in 2026, I don't think he will have a chance. If they go as far to do the no due process, knock down the door, no knock warrants, rip you out from your home and put you on a bus and send you to the border, yeah, I don't feel that would be very popular. But you know what? Yeah, go ahead.
So, like, when I first heard about Stephen Miller, it was probably about probably about 10 years ago. When somebody on Pod Save America, I believe it was John Lovett, called him a C+ Santa Monica fascist. I've always loved that nickname for him, and I still call him a C+ Santa Monica fascist. You've probably heard that from me, Mold.
Probably.
But the idea is that we've known who he is for 12 years or whatever, and the fact that he keeps on rising and now he's about to be like potentially in the cabinet is what we need to be looking at. And like, I think in a weird way, someone like Stephen Miller is kind of like a barometer or a thermometer or whatever you want to call it for like the fascism in this country. Because when someone like him is allowed and does succeed to the extent that he has, it tells us a lot about ourselves. Because again, he's been called a fascist for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And he's getting more and more and more powerful and more and more and more recognized. And I don't know, like, if that doesn't tell you the way that we're going, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Like, you can just watch him, and if he keeps succeeding, that's going to be a sign too.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be pretty gnarly. I think for me, when I look at how these mass deportations can take place, I've actually, and I can't believe I heard this, understand too that the representatives and the cabinet picks, they will sit there and they will say things that are hyperbolic but very vague. The problem is that vagueness leaves the followers to then fill in those blanks, those details.
Yep.
And what ended up happening is Donald Trump's followers, I just heard when I was watching IRI's stream with C-SPAN Collins, right before I got on stream, a caller called in, and I kid you not, went as far to say full mask off, sat there and said, not only should we yank them out of their house and deport them, but we should then invade their phone and see all of their contacts. I pray I pray we're not going to be that crazy, but understand that this is what's going on.
Dude.
Yeah.
Just real quick, do you know what's really fucked up to me? Is that right now, I don't know whether you're talking about a Democrat or a Republican. Go on.
Why do you say? Well, wait. Why do you say Democrat? Well, okay. I guess because you can go on the extremes. I guess you could say, right?
Yeah, the amount of fucking Democrats that I've seen in the last 2 weeks that are coming out here and saying like, "Oh, I know that like my undocumented neighbor voted for MAGA. How do I report him?"
Yes.
Like they're just as fascist as the fucking right. They needed an excuse to be fascist, but then they do the exact same shit. Sorry, that's a
no, but it's okay. You rant away. I know exactly what you're talking about because I've seen some of those TikTok videos going around where the person's saying, well, they voted for Trump. I just called immigration on my brother or my sister or whatever. And it's like, okay, that's not cool either. Let's be clear here. I understand the sentiment, and I'm completely okay with saying that. Look, let MAGA get a taste of their own medicine via not that. That's not the way I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is look. They wanted Trump, and now they're going to have to own Trump. Meaning when he sits there and he goes in and he causes the economy to tank, that's not on Joe Biden. That's on Trump. That's on you who voted for Trump. Now, what do I look at as that person who voted for them? I feel sorry for that person. Why? Because that they were duped into believing what Donald Trump sold them. And to be clear, I think there's two different MAGA supporters that I have two different kinds of feelings for. I mentioned this last night, and I'll mention it again today. There's 2016 to 2020 Trump supporters, and then there's 2020 to 2024 Trump supporters. Two completely different Trump supporters. The 2016 to 2020 Trump supporter is more inclined to be probably more moderate, right? They're like, hey, we just wanted somebody who was different. We wanted somebody to shake some things up in Washington. Respectable. Get it? That was talked about even in 2012, 2013, whatever, I don't know. 2012. I get that. But then there's 2020 to 2024 Trump supporters, which is post J6. Those Trump supporters are way more into the MAGA ideology. And the thing about it that concerns me is they are slowly moving further right. They just are. And let's be very clear here. If we look at history, and I'm trying to tread this very, very carefully because I don't know where my limits are on this. If you look at history, because I'm a big World War II history buff, Wes, I believe me and you have had these conversations before. The people of that particular country, and maybe me and you will disagree, I'm not sure, because we might have talked about this with like statues or something a long time ago. The people of that country were fooled into believing the rhetoric that was espoused by his particular leader. And I think that there are separations between those people and leadership. We actually saw in history of that particular country that there was a more radical group within the main group. I believe it's, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say their name on YouTube or anything. Well, actually, I think it could be fine. Let's just say
it's pretty.
We're discussing we're discussing history.
Okay.
Purely.
Yeah. So the SS or the Wehrmacht, I think the Wehrmacht was might have been the same thing. But anyways, they were the more radical group of that particular of the Nazis. Don't know if that's allowed, but I'll say it one time only. So they were part of that. And so what I see here is similar parallels. Now, to be clear, I am not saying that we are at that point yet. In fact, I have mentioned this many times that I think Donald Trump, for the most part, is unable to really rally those people behind him in that kind of a manner. Although what I have seen, which is very concerning to me, is that over the past year, I have seen, past week, I have seen many people who won and are now foaming at the mouth of We just now got, it's kind of like when you're given a credit card that's got $100,000 on it. And what do? You end up going nuts, or lottery. Let's make it bigger. You win the lottery. What ends up happening? Those people go bankrupt. Why? Because they get so, rushed with adrenaline. They go out and buy a house. They go out and buy a Ferrari. They go out and buy this and this and this and this and this and this. And they buy everything out there in the world. And then next thing you know, the next year they're sitting around going, where do my money go? It's the same thing with this power. They have now been, yeah.
I think that that's the wrong way to look at it in a sense, because like, I believe that when they do get that power and they go out on a power spree with it, they are doing exactly what their voters want them to do. And Democrats have a problem in that they do not do what their voters want them to do. Like, I view a vote as transactional. And when I vote for you, I expect you to do certain things for me that you promised. And if you do not wield your power to do those things, then you have failed me. And I think that's like something that the Democrats and the Republicans understand completely differently, in that Republicans actually wield their power when they're given it. And they say, oh, you wanted to ban abortion? Boom. Here we go. I'm going to actually ban abortion. You want to stack the courts? I'm going to fucking stack the courts. And Democrats are just like, they're fucking wusses about it. Like, they get power and we vote them in and they don't do anything with their power. They're just like, oh, well, we wanted to do some good things for you guys, but we tried to reach across the aisle, and those Republicans, they were just such meanies about it. So sorry we didn't do anything this term. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know if like I understand the frustration. I don't think Democrats are as like aggressive. Like, Democrats would never do like what Republicans did with like Supreme Court nominations, and I don't think they'll pack the court in response or anything. I can understand that frustration. I think Democrats do a decent amount, though. Like, even Biden, through bipartisan legislation, was able to do a decent amount. I think the median Democrat voter is also probably just not incredibly smart.
Well,
we track the consumer sentiment, right? And like, after like, the Republican consumer sentiment of the economy right now is higher than Democrats. Like, even though it's the same economy. After Trump's elected, not only did Republicans' consumer sentiment go up, but Democrats went down too, even though it's the same economy. Like, nothing really has changed.
Yeah. So the thing about Democrats for me is that I think that they have a lot wider ideology, right? You have your own camps, and the one thing that Republicans have right now for them is there was a divide, but it's slowly closed in. It's no longer really a divide. It is MAGA. MAGA is the right. There's no room for moderates. There's no room for libertarians. What you see is what you get. And that's the issue I have. Democrats suck at bribe. That's not wrong either, Cook. I think that's the other issue is that MAGA has set the stage in such a way where Republicans can get away with a lot more stuff. They can be very open with how they are doing these things. But if Democrats did it, it's game over. Democrats would be criticized very heavily. And Democrats consistently have to play by a different set of rules. The other issue I have is that Democrats continuously capitulate to the right. We saw in this election that they actually ended up losing some Republican support from 2020. In 2020, they gained 6% of Republicans for Biden. In 2024, it was down to, I think, 5%. So one thing that we have to keep in mind is that for as much as Kamala was moderate in her positions, she still wasn't able to garner that extra support that she was thinking she was going to get. And I think that was what it did was it ended up turning off that further left, maybe the progressives, maybe some of the socialists. And I'm not saying that she should be taking on communist policies, but for example, she ended up taking her stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict, right? She ended up taking a very much more moderate position in the sense of saying, hey, I stand for, instead of saying I stand for Israel or I stand for the Gaza or Palestine, I stand for a two-state solution where both parties can have kumbaya. Was that a winning strategy? Yeah, I don't know. I think the main reason why she lost, though, to be fair, is a lot of it had to do with the fact that the economy just sucked. Don't overcomplicate it. You don't have to overcomplicate it. People vote with their wallets. If they see that their wallet is tight and the wallet is thin, then what are they going to do? They're going to vote based on that.
For tariffs, but
yeah, right, exactly, the tariffs. And they'll learn, and it's really interesting. I think you could see that same thing played out or bared out by how these Senate and House races played out within these states. There are several states in which Donald Trump won the presidency, but then on the Senate or the Senate side, it went Democrat. So what that tells you is that that tells me that they view the president as being able to change the way that their wallet gets handled, but they view at their local level that the Democrat is the best fit for that area. They split their ticket. Upsy said, "You realize that it's people like you with the constant fear-mongering rhetoric calling Trump got him elected, right? You're not fooling one." No, actually, Opsy, it was not why Donald Trump won. And this idea that Donald Trump won because of the rhetoric from the left is laughable. In fact, we can look at the rhetoric that happened from Donald Trump that is often very much so overlooked that he had from the left. So again, it's very interesting to me. It's very interesting to me to see that when you hear that. Everything that we can see right now is the number one issue with voters for the exit polling was the economy, immigration, and abortion. Those are the top three issues.
That's such a sorry, I'm back. But that's such a weird take for me. I don't even know if I've seen that one yet. Like,
what do you mean?
It's very much like that comic that like, well, fine, if you guys are going to call me a Nazi, then I guess I'll just go ahead and be a Nazi. And like they start, putting on the Nazi uniform and like burning a cross or whatever. And it's just like, it's like that. Are there actually people who are just that contrarian that are like, oh, well, you called him Hitler, so I'm going to vote for him because he's not actually Hitler. Like,
right.
Do those people exist other than OpZ 187?
There a lot on the right have that opinion, but there's very little that I've seen from moderates that hold that stance. Most of the moderates that I've seen, and this is again bared out, we were just talking about, bared out by the split ticket voting that took place. Most of that split ticket voting was likely to have taken place amongst independents because independents are more likely to be the ones that split their ticket like that. And what that tells me by their split ticket is that they voted for Trump due to the fact that the perception under Donald Trump, the economy was better. That's quite literally that simple. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Anybody who tries to overcomplicate it is more than likely wrong. It doesn't come down to rhetoric. Rhetoric was thrown around on both sides. By that same metric, we could say that more people voted for Kamala Harris because of the fact of Donald Trump's rhetoric. And I think that's silly. I would say it's neither here nor there. I think both rhetorics were abhorrent. And I don't want to hear. Funny thing about this too is that JD Vance, I didn't hear a lot of rhetoric from the mainstream candidates themselves calling. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever heard Kamala Harris say that Trump was that way. I don't even think Biden said that. But even then, we can look at JD Vance. JD Vance called Trump Hitler. We had that. We can look at how many times.
They will use that 10-minute press conference that Kamala gave, where she said that he was doing things like that person.
Yeah.
And everybody like went off the rails and was like, oh, she just called him H. And it's like, no, she didn't though. She just said that like he did something similar to him.
Yeah, and I think again, even in that press conference, she took a very middle of the road approach. She was like, she's like, I didn't know what Joe Biden said, but if that's what he said, then something like that. But Opsy said it's the one no one talks about, but a lot of people voted for Trump because you guys push people away from Democrats. Okay, none of that is borne out in the data. In fact, we're actually seeing that Kamala got about the same amount, actually got more support than Hillary Clinton. And by the time that the actual, again, all of these rhetoric things that you're talking about, Opsy, have almost nothing is borne out. You can't point to anything other than feels for these. What I'm pointing out to is based in exit polling data. So which one is stronger? If you want to point to me to a poll that suggests that more people voted, by all means. But all of these arguments that I've seen that are coming from this is a feels argument, because that is how, and this is exactly like I've heard many people say, when you're formulating this opinion, it's because that is why you voted for Trump or what you believe, but it's not borne out in data. Yes, a lot of people vote. Yeah.
So a lot of people do vote on feels, dude. But the amount of people that went to the ballot box didn't know who they were going to vote for that morning. But when they got to the ballot box, they decided that they were going to make their decision based on violent rhetoric. Pales, absolutely pales to a like 1/100th% of the people who went to the ballot box didn't know that morning and decided as they were walking in that their wallet looked better 4 years ago.
Correct.
The average voter, you're right, does vote on feels. But those feels are very rarely about things like the violent rhetoric. Their feels are how much fucking eggs cost. Their feels are what their savings account looks like. Or their 401k. Like, those are the feels that actually motivate in this country.
And the funny thing of
little bit of a tangent, but I'm curious because we now have the new Attorney General appointment. Did you do you know anything about like the Trump Jerome Powell feud, and how he might try to fire him again?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear.
What was that?
Did you guys follow the Trump versus Jerome Powell feud when it happened during his first term? And then do you know of any of the new?
Not on the first term, but I do know in the second one, he has had a little bit of an issue. And this is another, I'm glad you brought this up, because this is another issue I'm having with MAGA, is MAGA is now wanting to do whatever they can to basically expel Powell out of his seat that he was appointed to for, I believe, the next year and a half. I think he's there until 26. So, and I'm sorry, Wes. I know you're like, man, I didn't come in here for Doomer, man.
No, that's just funny to me.
Yeah, they want to get Powell out because they think that Powell is going to operate, on his own. And the funny thing is, I believe Trump actually nominated Powell, if I'm not mistaken.
He did, yep.
So, and this is the habit with Donald Trump, right? Is he will nominate these people, and every single one that I have seen that leaves Donald Trump tends to come back and say, yeah, I don't like Donald Trump. When do we say enough is enough, right? Like, how many times do we have to hear from former staff members being like, yeah, I kind of heard this. Yeah, I kind of heard that. Like, I get it. Like, I was that way where I was like, okay, one angry staffer left. Okay. But like, we're talking like 10, 20, 30 staffers that he's got like a 92% turnover rate. It's not looking good.
And it's another issue with the inflation thing, because like we have data on this, like independent central banks tend to produce less inflation than politicized ones.
Right.
But people seem to understand that point. So
yeah. So
oh my God. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm just excited to read Mark's. During Trump, I had good night's sleep, but ever since Kamala was VP, this big dog is barking all night long. Now, I've heard some lefties' theories that it's because the new neighbors moved in, blah, blah, blah. But if Trump was in charge, things would be better. Dude, so agreed. Yeah. So agreed. A lot of my close friends agree with me too, man. And that's what I base my opinions on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I have to go in a second here, but the thing I wanted to talk a little bit about the tariffs a little bit.
Yeah,
just because I saw you talking about that. Okay. And this is my issue now. Okay. And this is why all the Twitter conservatives refuse to debate me on this. Okay. Do you know anything about like if I say like the standard Econ 101 model of tariffs, do you know what I'm like referring to at all?
Not on its face, but if you described it a little more, maybe.
Yeah, it's basically, we have your standard like supply and demand graph.
Okay.
And like it can be used to explain basically, the effects of tariff. Typically, like the Econ 101 take on tariffs is like, oh, we have a certain market, and then we apply the world price to it. And if the world price is below equilibrium, which is the usual case, then we import that good, and we can see the changes in what's called a consumer and producer surplus. It's basically just how much consumers gain versus how much producers lose. And we can see consumers gain more than producers lose. So it maximizes total surplus. It's a really good thing. That's why economists like it. And you can see with a tariff, when we apply a tariff, we may protect some jobs, right? But consumers still lose more than producers gain.
Right.
And now I'm assuming you've heard some of these talking points, sort of.
I have. I've taken a few econ classes in college. Was I paying attention? Not entirely, but I do know what you're talking about, the consumer surplus and producer surplus and total surplus and things like that. I remember that. If you showed me on a chart, it would refresh my memory, but I do know those terms.
Yeah, I mean, we can look up charts, but like, you've probably heard a few of the other talking points I'm going to mention, but like, that's kind of the standard model. Now, there's reason to think that tariffs are even worse in reality. So like a big one now is that our supply chains are really complex, and like most of our imports are just intermediate goods, right? It's not like we specialize in aircraft manufacturing and Mexico specializes in furniture. It's more like certain countries specialize in specific parts of manufacturing aircrafts, and then we import parts of aircraft into the U.S.
Right.
So if you tariff them, you're not really helping American manufacturing. You're just increasing their prices.
Right.
Not only do you hurt consumer surplus, you also end up hurting producer surplus as well. So like everyone just loses.
Right.
And then there's another big thing with exchange rate appreciation, which is just a fancy term for a currency becoming more expensive. If you put a ton of tariffs on things, people don't buy as much imports. That's the whole point. But what that does is that they supply less of their currency in the foreign markets. When there's less supply, the price of it goes up.
Correct. Yeah.
It makes the price of the US dollar go up. That's called exchange rate appreciation. You know what that does? That hurts exports. That hurts manufacturers, because now the US dollar is more expensive for other currencies to buy. So you hurt American manufacturing that way too.
Right.
And then just a whole, obviously, like, it's a regressive tax, right? Like, it taxes poor people more than rich people.
Right.
Like, so it does that on its face, first of all, because like it's a flat tax, and poor people suffer more from a flat tax because it's marginal. Yeah. But also poor people buy more imported goods as a percentage of their income. American consumers in the 10th percentile, of the bottom 10 percentile, they spend like 69% of their income on like imported goods, or goods that are like primarily imported, because a lot of things aren't 100% imported. Right. That basically means if we were to close off our borders entirely, they would lose like 69% of their purchasing power.
It's just insane across the board, right? I mean, we talked about little things like, for example, beer, right? Beer that's usually going to be purchased more likely by the poor class, or the lower class, whatever you want to call it. They're more likely to buy beer. Well, if they buy one of the most popular beers out there right now is Modelo, after the Bud Light strike. Well, Modelo comes from Mexico. That's going to be more expensive. Not to mention, when you look at Trump's tax plans, he's not planning on helping the lower class dollar for dollar. He's going to end up helping the upper class. And I think what I saw was upwards of like anybody who made over $10 million or something like that ended up seeing like a tax savings of $60,000 to $600,000 or something like that. Some crazy amount due to Trump's tax cuts. That's not going to be passed down to the lower class. The lower class, dollar per dollar, I think saw a savings of like 30 cents. Or like $1 or something. I mean, it's insane, just the amount of dollars. But because they have a smaller income, the percentage looked way higher. So they were like, oh my gosh, we saved 30% for the lower class. I'm like, no, they just had a lower denominator. Like that's why. So they would be like, oh, well, the top 1% ended up having like a 3% tax savings. Like, yeah, but that 3% of theirs is like $300,000. It was just insane. But guys, it's getting close to 9:00. I need to get ready for tonight's lovely Floyd Mayweather and Jake Paul fight on Netflix. This is going to be very.
You just said Floyd. It's Mike Tyson.
Did I say Floyd Mayweather?
You said Floyd Mayweather.
I didn't say
Money Mayweather.
I didn't say Mayweather. I didn't say that.
I didn't hear it either. Never mind.
All right. Yeah. See, I didn't say that. That's why I said. I said Mike Mayweather. That's what I said. Mike. You might have.
We've been talking about.
Could you
Mike
imagine
Tyson,
a Floyd Mayweather Mike Tyson hybrid?
Oh, can you imagine? I'm with Mark. Can you imagine a Mayweather versus Tyson fight? Like, who do you think would actually? I think Mike Tyson would actually just like blow him away if he ever made contact. Like, Floyd Mayweather would just turn into dust if Mike Tyson actually ever made contact.
I'm skeptical of how this fight's gonna go. I'm always like, when you get when this is so publicized, I don't like doing the whole like refs are rigging it kind of thing, But I'm a little.
Well, I mean, with this one, we can all agree this is just a money grab for both.
100%.
Right.
100%.
Like this isn't a boxing match that I'm actually interested in. Like, I'm gonna watch it,
right?
Because I like boxing, but like this is just a money grab. I don't expect a good match.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see. I think the last time, I think it was the Tyson fight with Jake Paul, where they or it might have been Logan Paul, or it might have been, I forgot which one it was. It might have been Logan, when they faked getting knocked out or something like that, where like the fist didn't even make contact with the cheek or something. It's been a while since I looked at it, but yeah, guys. So I'm gonna start wrapping it up. That sounded terrible. Anyways, I'm going to take care of this, and we will see you guys on Monday. Opsy, I appreciate you coming in. You had a very reasonable conversation. We had somebody yesterday came in and went full grouper. It was pretty bad. But anyways, appreciate you, Non-Fron, for coming in, by the way. Shout out to Non-Fron. Go and give him a follow, guys, if you haven't already. Where you shout yourself out, Non-Fron.
I stream on Twitch at nonfon420, and I'm on YouTube at nonfon, NONFON. You can go watch me debate a bunch of tariffs there. So fun, such a good time.
Hey, we need more econ-minded people out there. So I appreciate you coming in. Other than that, guys, I will be streaming again Monday through Friday, except for Wednesday. So anybody who's unaware of the new schedule, next week we'll be doing Monday, Thursday, Friday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and Tuesdays is TikTok Tuesday. So make sure you follow me on Tuesday. That is where I will be doing a live stream on TikTok debating MAGA. So be sure to tune in all those. I appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. And if you're watching me on any of these platforms right here, please drop a follow. If you're on YouTube, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. And if you are on Twitter, make sure you hit that follow button. I'm also on Blue Sky, and eventually I'll add that in there, but maybe I should keep it secret so that they don't come and find me, I don't want the righties to come find me on Blue Sky. No, that's pretty much where I'm at. It's all on my link tree. My link tree looks obnoxious, by the way.